You know that feeling? Maybe you're home alone, it's Friday night, or you find yourself at a party kind of standing awkwardly, and you feel this pang. We usually just call that loneliness, don't we?
Yeah, that's the default, isn't it? It's the immediate assumption for so many of us that being physically alone or maybe feeling a bit disconnected even in a crowd just automatically equals loneliness.
Right. But what if this essay we're looking at today just flips that whole idea on its head? What if that feeling isn't really about who's physically around you, but, I don't know, something deeper?
Mm.
Our source for this deep dive is this really fascinating essay called What You Find in Solitude.
Hmm.
And our mission here really is to unpack the most, let's say, surprising or counterintuitive insights from it. It genuinely challenges that common idea that being alone has to be lonely.
Yeah.
And it points towards some, well, pretty profound things that maybe you can only discover when you consciously step away from all the noise and, the expectations. Okay, let's dive in then. So the essay kicks off with a pretty bold claim, actually. It suggests loneliness itself is, well, just an idea.
An idea, exactly. Not like an inherent state that's automatically tied to being by yourself physically.
Right.
It's more like an implication that you are somehow fundamentally disconnected from other people.
Yeah.
Always.
Mm. And what's really striking is how the source defines loneliness then. It argues it's often what happens when you get maybe too dependent on outside stuff.
Yeah, like needing other people's presence or their approval or just their acceptance to understand yourself or, frankly, just to feel okay about yourself.
Okay, so it's not just missing people.
No.
It's more like needing them to prop up your own sense of who you are, your self-worth. That feels, yeah, that's a big shift in perspective.
It is. And the essay pushes it further. It says, you can feel incredibly alone in a packed room precisely because you might be performing or looking for that validation.
But you could feel deeply connected when you're totally alone.
Exactly. Connected to yourself. The source basically says you're only as alone as you believe you are. It hinges on whether you think you need others to complete you or, validate your existence.
Getting past that ingrained idea, aloneness equals lonely, seems pretty crucial in this essay. Why is that so important?
Well, because the essay argues there's something, it calls it phenomenally foreign and elusive that you can only find in what it terms sacred idleness.
Sacred idleness. What does that mean exactly? Is it just doing nothing?
It's a bit more than that. It's described as the state when you stop the constant doing or working. And that includes performing for others or even just like running those internal stories based on what society expects.
Ah.
You just allow yourself to be. It's the space where you stop defining yourself by your roles, employee, friend, parent, whatever.
Right.
And you start judging yourself by comparing yourself to others. You kind of diffuse that constant inner voice asking, is this acceptable? What will they think?
And this is where the essay says you find something really fundamental. Not just hearing your own thoughts, but actually realizing you are you. A distinct consciousness experiencing your own mind.
Precisely. It even brings in that Huxley quote, which says the essential substance of our thoughts and feelings is ultimately incommunicable, kind of locked up inside us. He calls life a sentence of perpetual solitary confinement.
Whoa, okay, that sounds pretty bleak. Like being trapped.
It does sound stark, yeah.
Like,
But the essay actually reframes it. It doesn't paint this inherent separateness as bad.
how so?
It sees it as the very condition that lets you discover your genuine self. You're shown who you are because you're finally not tweaking yourself to be someone else for someone else.
You're just
Yeah.
you, to yourself.
You stop acting just to fit some external mold and start acting, well, just for the sake of being alive, experiencing humanness itself.
And the essay connects this to our daily lives, right?
Yeah.
It says so much of what we do, those automatic actions, are basically contrived solely by the means of being acceptable to the world around you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's those actions, the ones not rooted in our genuine internal state, that can ironically disconnect us from ourselves, even when we're surrounded by people.
So solitude, in this view, isn't something scary to avoid. It's not the opposite of connection.
Not at all. It's presented almost as maybe the most important practice for grounding yourself in what's actually real about you, for escaping that pressure of who you think you should be.
It leaves you alone with the unvarnished truth of being a person, the good, the bad, the weird.
All of it, the unique essence. And it sort of forces you gently to look at the bigger picture, the structure of life itself, which the essay argues you can only really see clearly when you step back from being completely immersed in it.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway from our deep dive into what you find in solitude? It feels like a powerful shift in thinking.
Definitely. Solitude isn't just emptiness, the absence of others. It's framed as an essential, even active practice for genuine self-discovery.
It's about moving beyond that deep need for external validation, for connection as validation,
Mm.
to find what's actually real and maybe sufficient within yourself.
It really challenges us, doesn't it? Challenges you to rethink your basic assumptions about being alone.
Yeah. And remembering that point from the essay, that so much of our daily life might be contrived solely by the means of being acceptable to the world around you.
Mm.
It leaves us with a pretty provocative question for you, the listener, to chew on. What parts of your genuine self, the real you, can only truly surface, can only breathe when you deliberately choose solitude, when you step away from that constant background noise of needing external acceptance?
That's definitely something worth contemplating.
Something to think about until our next deep dive.